Victor Davis Hanson joins us. He's a senior fellow at the Hoover Institute and the author of The Dying Citizen, How Progressive Elites, Tribalism, and Globalization Are Destroying the Idea of America. Sir, great to have you back with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
I started today by saying this is about as good as I felt all election about President Trump's chances of winning. How do you feel as of today, sir?
Well, I certainly feel a lot more confident than 2016 when he won and 2020 when he lost. But I don't know what the magic number is. I think everybody's debating this number, and that is that they feel that the polls still underreport Trump support. And they also feel antithetically that he has to be ahead in the polls given that switch over to non-election day balloting with 70% of the ballots. They still don't trust that, the authenticity of that process. So if he's in some polls 2 points ahead in the regular polls, he's probably 4 points ahead in the real polls, but they don't know whether he's going to lose that. I'm just talking about general perception.
Yeah.
If he's going to lose that margin when we start to look at the huge Trump leads election night in Georgia, Arizona, North Carolina, and all of a sudden we go to bed at 11 and that screen starts to change as these pallets of ballots come in, as happened the last election. So, and then the other wild card is the one time the polls were right is the most recent, and people argue, well, that's the most recent poll, 2022 midterms. They got it right. They finally figured out what they did wrong. And then the counter argument was, no, they're still doing it wrong because Trump wasn't on the ballot in 2022.
Yes.
So there's all these uncertainties, but if the trends continue at the same rate of improvement that he's at now for the next 2.5 weeks, I think he'll win.
You know, one of the features of those last few Trump elections is that pollsters kept saying that there were shy Trump voters out there. In other words, people who supported Trump in the ballot box but didn't really want to say so out loud, perhaps even to their neighbors. It does feel like there's something changing right now in the country, and maybe it's just my perception, but that people seem more comfortable than ever saying, yeah, I support Donald Trump and I don't support the Biden-Harris administration. Do you find that too?
Well, I live in a almost predominantly Mexican-American small town in Central California, kind of ground zero of illegal immigration. And when I go into a supermarket in 2016 and 2020, I heard not one person came up to me and said, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, or I saw you on Fox and, I agree with you. When I go in now, I get stopped by 8 or 9 people. They're predominantly men over the age of 40 that are what we would call Hispanic, but they're mostly, exclusively, I should say, Mexican-American. And that's happened now on about 10 occasions, so maybe 80 or 90 people. I haven't met one who said that they were going to vote for anybody else. I mean, I've just never seen people in the Mexican-American community, male. These are people who are plumbers, electricians, contractors, city employees, and they seem to be voting. And the polls in California kind of reflect that among Mexican-American males, there are probably 50% at least for Trump. And that's new. And they're not shy about saying to you why. And whether it's he's a strong leader and we're embarrassed, or Biden or Harris or left wing or transgender issues or ninth-month abortion. But that's new, and it's kind of mirror images what we're seeing with black males to a lesser extent. Young people. I have a son who's a teacher. He's 40 years old, married, happy, but he has a coterie of male teachers. They play sports together on weekends and stuff like most guys. And they were all apolitical, and now they're not apolitical. And they're talking about they may not like Trump personally, they may not, but they're all going to vote for him. And so you just get these little indicators all around your environment in the most unexpected places that, he goes to a football game, and then your rational side says, well, wait a minute. Remember 2020, the huge rallies, and they cut over to the Biden cars, maybe 20 cars honking their horns for Biden.
I know.
When he was, and don't be fooled again. So we're all wary, I think, is what we're saying. But empirically, all the signs look good that he's on a trajectory to win if he keeps it up. And it's much like the 1980 election when Jimmy Carter was ahead, I think, by 8 points in the Gallup poll of October 19th. And then the last one, October, I think it was 29th, he was ahead by 3, and yet Reagan won by 10. And everybody said, well, how was that possible? Well, I think it was people waited and waited, and then just collectively they said, I'm done with Carter. I'm sick of it. I don't want to be lectured. I'm tired of the malaise. I'm tired of the hostages. I want somebody who's upbeat. And that's the same dynamics this time. That we want somebody to build stuff, create stuff that says we're kind of an Elon Musk, that image of Donald Trump, getting his earshot and saying, fight, fight, and then you see Elon Musk as a Rector set sort of thing, catching a missile and from space. It's that yearning for substance, for meaning, and she doesn't resonate that at all. She doesn't, and I think people are sick of it.
Yes.
So I think we might be watching in the next 10 days kind of a consensus that she's going to stall and he's going to pick up momentum.
It's interesting you mentioned the Carter example. I do feel like Kamala Harris's campaign consists of defending the malaise that she's gotten us into and lecturing us constantly. It feels like every event that she does is merely scolding Americans that they're not supporting her adequately enough. But meanwhile,
and then the surrogates are worse. Bill Clinton goes out, and then Barack Obama, and it's almost like we're Marxists and we're diagnosing you as false consciousness or what's the matter with Kansas type of, you've been misled by this shyster, and we can tell you, and only we can tell you, what's in your true interest. So we're going to talk down to you. Now listen, that doesn't work when you insult the electorate.
It doesn't, luckily for a lot of the electorate, but it feels like to some extent, quite unfortunately, maybe it does for some percentage, because it feels like in a rational world that President Trump would be running away with this in every public poll, and we wouldn't even be close to talking about to what extent this is a coin toss. Would you take a look at what do you make of their strategy?
Yeah, I would kind of disagree. Because I would look at the other way. I would say that Republicans haven't won 51% of the presidential votes since 1988. They've lost 7 out of the last 8 popular votes. And the reason why is they don't run the media, they don't run Hollywood, they don't run entertainment, the corporate boardrooms, Silicon Valley, professional sports, popular culture. They get outspent 3.5 to 2 or 3 to 1. They don't. The big money in the United States is in hedge funds, finance, insurance, media, Silicon Valley, tech. So, and then I look at this obsessive hatred of Donald Trump and the lengths that they'll go. I mean, we've never really seen people 5 criminal and civil suits against him to destroy him psychologically, materially, bankrupt him. 16 states wanted to take him off the ballot. They've impeached him twice. They've tried him as a private citizen, 2 assassination attempts. So, in my view, I'm so glad that it's close and he's ahead, but given the odds, it would have killed any other person or broken them financially or psychologically. And you can't fight all of that institutional. I mean, it's very powerful. They can take somebody who was clearly demented in 2020 and was seen so by the Democrat and turn him into fit as a fiddle, old Joe Biden from Scranton. Yeah. And they pulled that off for 3.5 years. And they've taken her, who was a complete Spiro Agnew insurance policy, up until the very moment that Joe Biden resigned. That was her worst scenario. She never even entered a primary. She was so inept in 2019. And then 48 hours, they turned her into Kamala, Joan of Arc, brilliant, articulate Cicero of our age, and she surged ahead. So the Republicans or conservatives are up against forces that I don't think they appreciate their money, their power, their resources, their communication, saturation. And for him to be right now, given all of that, even or even slightly ahead is, I think it's miraculous.
Yes, I think that's the answer I was looking for. Yeah, he's up against all of the marshaled forces of the establishment, and he's still prevailing.
He is, and he's got people. I mean, if you had told any of us that Liz Cheney, third in power in the House, from this far right family, with Lynn Cheney that fought for the NEH traditionalism, and Dick Cheney, who the left said was Darth Vader, Prince of Darkness, would be out campaigning for someone who wants abortion on demand, open borders, Soros crime type of modalities, the Afghanistan pullout. Nobody would believe it.
Yeah.
But so he's up against a lot of obstacles.
Yep, he is. And once again, if you want to expose who someone is, just send President Trump into the room. You'll find out really quickly. Thank you, Victor Davis Hanson from the Hoover Institute. Love talking to you. I hope we can do it again really soon, sir. Thank you very much.